Hi guys, this is Sayso from Loopfield TCG, and I'm presenting my Phantom Blaster Dragon Control deck profile, requested from one of our viewers. First and foremost, I like to give credit to Ryan Kai and Seiji. Kenny Seiji, sorry. For giving me, I basically got the deck idea from them. Ryan Kai for making it, and Seiji for putting it on his blog. So, check out Ryan Kai's Twitter and YouTube channel, and Seiji's Twitter and his blog as well. Very good blog. So what Phantom Blaster Control is, it's playing Phantom Blaster Dragon and controlling your opponent's game state. So what that means is you win by grinding down your opponent through card advantage and counterblast denying them, since counterblast is a very good precious resource in standard, since there's very little counter charges and everything needs counterblast to play, especially like things in this meta. What is in this meta? Liquia needs 2 counterblasts, so you either give them one at a time or you threaten them like, here, take 2 or 3 counterblasts. So what I found out from playing this deck is you won't win a lot early when you're learning it. I'm still learning it, and I'm still not winning a lot with this deck. But it teaches you how to approach different matchups by adapting to how different decks play. So like some decks you need to control rear guards and slowly give counterblast. Some other decks you deny counterblast and threaten, like you flip double crit, you put on 1 rear guard, and then the opponent's forced to take 3. But the main goal, as I said before, lead them at 3, and then you threaten them with 3 damage, so 3 to 6, your opponent. So for the zeros, very standard. I believe it's 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. I don't believe playing an extra draw, since this deck does tend to like go through the deck really fast, so you don't want to keep drawing like triggers or having like, no crit pressure. So your opponent sees you're playing vanilla draws, they might like be inclined to take the Vanguard, and then instead of checking a crit, you check a draw, so you lose out on killing them, and then you give them two counterblasts to play with, and then you might lose the advantage again from there. So the deck's very slow, so you have to give counterblasts when your opponent, like, when you can afford to give them counterblasts and live. So start with grade 1s. I'll start with the main. So the main's probably one of the most important grade 1s in the deck. So I say a staple Shadow Paladin. So what happens is when you rest her, you can search your deck for any normal unit. Oh no, not any normal unit. Any unit with 5k power. So triggers have 5k power, and the main herself has 5k power. And you can search any unit with 5k power and call to an open rear guard. So that basically floods the field, gives you the resource for Phantom Blaster Dragon as well, since Phantom Blaster Dragon needs to retire 3 units. So essentially she acts as 2 units. So very good staple. Next, I'll move on to Swordbreaker, which you can also see is another 5,000 power unit. So what she does is, when placed, you can counterblast 1 and draw a card. And if it was placed from hand, so if you have her in hand, she gets 5,000 power. So basically, anytime you call her, you're probably calling her through the main, since it gets you a card and also allows you to draw a card, so really good card advantage. So, or otherwise you can call her from hand and act as a 10k beat sticker booster. So 2, don't want to play too much. I've seen people play 3. I tend to see a lot of 5ks in my hand, so I bumped it down to around 2. Next is for Sharon. So what Sharon does is, when it's placed from an ability, you Soul Blast 1, and you get to countercharge 1. So it allows you to play with your resources a bit more greedily, or allows you to manage your resources a lot better, since you get a refund basically. And Sharon only combos with Maha in the deck as of now. The next important grade 1 I like to talk about is Coolbow. So Coolbow kind of makes PBD control. So what he does is he rests 2 rear guards in the same column. So you rest him and something in front of him or behind him, depending where you place him. And you can return a normal unit with 5,000 power from a drop zone back to hand. So what that means is, when you use PBD, you kill free. So if you do kill on the main, a Swordbreaker, or even a Dead Armor Dragon, which I'll talk about later, you can kind of recycle it back. So what that means is you either get a 10,000 shield back in hand, or you can get it in the main to thin out your deck a bit more. You still have 5k units in your deck, or Swordbreaker back in hand, and you can play it again to draw more cards, just to like dig into pieces, or dig into pieces. Yeah, basically dig into pieces. Sorry, repeating myself. So yeah, really good card. So if you're not playing against control decks like Kagero, Narukami, Link Joker, he's basically free in the back line, just recurring normal units. It kind of sucks that he arrests a whole column, which means if you want to get free attacks during your battle phase, you do need to core over the rested unit. Otherwise, you can. What I've been doing as well, and seeing people do, is you leave the rested column and you just attack with your Vanguard line and your other rearguard line, since all your grade 3s in the Vanguard line do have crit pressure, so it kind of makes up for that as well. And also, you want to control Counterblast, so sometimes you only need 2 attacks, so you attack rearguard and then you attack another rearguard, or you attack Vanguard and rearguard. Next is Dead Armor Dragon, which I didn't have access to, not yet even. It only comes out in the BCS, which is in December for me in Australia. But I've seen it be a very crucial card. So what it does is, when your unit attacks, or anything attacks, your rearguard or your Vanguard attacks, you can Soul Blast 1 and sack them off, and it gives that unit Battle Door, so your opponent has to call 2 or more. So that it's kind of like a pseudo guard restrict. So what that means is, it makes your PBD and your Gust Blasters, they all have critical, and they're kind of like, people tend to perfect guard those, but a perfect guard will cost 3 cards. So either they call 2 triggers or call 3 cards, the like save card advantage, or they just null and lose 3 cards in hand. So very good at grinding down your opponent. So this will slowly wear down your opponent, and it's also recyclable by full battle as well. The last grade 1 to talk about is Cloudus. So at the end of your turn, if you're grade 3, you can Counterblast 1 and chuck it in Soul and draw a card. If you have Dorint, you get to countercharge 1, so it kind of pays for itself. You do lose the unit, but then you get to countercharge 1 and draw a card, so kind of good for dodging control decks as well. Next for grade 2s, I'll get on with the most important one, Maha. So Maha is your Vanguard, Rearguard, Counterblast 1, and core grade 1 or less from your hand. And you get a draw card, and also gets 5,000, so it's a 15,000 beater on Vanguard and Rearguard. So always very good. Ideal right target in the deck. And also, probably the best combo is Maha Sharon, which is Counterblast 1. It's basically Soul Blast 1, draw 1. So, very nice combo to have. And also allows you to dig slowly into your pieces. Next is Doreen, which is kind of like Maha Sharon, which is like Maha as well, where Cloudus is like Sharon for Doreen as well. So when it's placed, you can Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and it becomes 10,000. So 20k beater early game is always good. It requires your opponent to drop a 15, or even your opponent damage triggers, they still need to guard it as well. So, and also, if you have Cloudus on your Vanguard or Rearguard, you get a draw card, so it kind of pays for itself after you play for it as well. So these two are one pair, I like to call them, and then these two are the other pair as well. So they work off each other, and it's very good. And our last grade 2 is Fallen Dive Eagle, which is a promo in the current promo pack that's out at the moment. So what it does, it's when it intercepts for the battle your opponent's rearguard attack, one of your units cannot be hit until end of battle. So what that means is, if your opponent attacks your Vanguard with like I don't know, Hospital or Danger Lunge, like something with Guard Restrict, Antlion even. You can intercept with this, and it acts as like a soft perfect guard for intercept. So very, very good card, and also saves you a lot of hand from guarding annoying rear guards as well. So your opponent's a bit smarter. They might tend to attack this. Then you kind of have to like know when to let this guy take the hit. So he does his job by attracting aggro, or your opponent leaves it alone. You just intercept with it, and then they have to waste it. They wasted an attack, basically. So very good card. Also 5,000 power, which is also recyclable by Cool Bow. So very good card. I'll play that one. Grade 3s, we'll go with the main star of the deck, Phantom Blaster Dragon. So the ace boss unit of the monster. So everyone knows what it does. It Counter Blast 1, retire 3 rear guards, and your opponent retires 3 rear guards. And he also gets 15,000 power and a critical until end of turn. Not once per turn. So you can also stack criticals, but you need to retire 6 rear guards, which is like very, very costly. Not worth it sometimes. So what the main point is, he applies crit pressure and also controls the board for you. The second skill, where if your opponent has no rear guards and has 4 less damage, and you can Soul Blaster Grade 3 and deal 1 damage to your opponent's Vanguard. Not as relevant as in this playstyle, unless you can go push for game. So you put your opponent to 5 or even 4, then they want to start guarding the PBD with crit. Next, I play to Gust Blaster. So what Gust Blaster does is, when it attacks, Counter Blast 1 and retire 2 rear guards. And you draw a card, and your opponent retires 1. And he gets 10,000 power. So kind of like you can kind of like hit bigger, and it's also gives you a card, and your opponent loses a card as well. Also, its second skill is, when your rear guard is retired, if you have a grade 3 with Blaster in its soul, you get, so Phantom Blaster Dragon or Gust Blaster, it gets a critical for each rear guard retired. So he retires 2. So Gust Blaster, when it uses its own skill, it will always swing for 3 damage. So, like I said, leaving your opponent at 3, threaten them with game, or even Phantom Blaster Dragon can threaten them with game as well. So you can also manually retire your rear guards by calling over them. That will also give the crit the Gust Blaster Dragon as well. So if you want to stack up criticals if your opponent's at lower damage. And lastly, we play Danger Lunge Dragon. So he's kind of like the finisher on the rear guard and Vanguard as well. He actually is the finisher because he has inbuilt guard restricted in him, which I'll get to later. So when it's placed, you can Soul Blast 1 and return a grade 2 from a drop zone to hand. So if you had to ride Maha, you get it back. So you can basically you can play your Mahas again, and you don't draw another one. And also you can get your Dorint back, and in the very unfortunate case, if you ride a Fallen Dive Eagle, you get that back. But riding Fallen Dive Eagle, you get punished very hard. Since it's 5k, your opponent can call grade 1s, just bash you over, and also make magic numbers as well. Its second skill is where the guard restrict is. So Vanguard rear guard, when it attacks, if you have 3 or more force markers, you Soul Blaster grade 3, and until the end of that battle, it gets 10,000 power and 1 crit. And your opponent cannot call sentinels. Kind of basically a waterfall or hospital. So what I like doing is, you either ride it, where you stack all your force markers on Vanguard and your opponent just gets overwhelmed, or you start stacking force markers on rear guard and your opponent has to guard either your Gust Blaster or your Phantom Blaster along with a Danger Lunge, which makes either they left with no cards in hand or they don't have enough to guard everything. So to finish off, the deck is a lot harder to play than Mordred, since Mordred is just spam Blaster Dark, spam Force Marker, get Danger Lunge out, win the game. So from testing this, I'm still like not fully confident in this deck. And also, it's a great budget upgrade for people that can't or won't get Mordred, like can't afford Mordreds, since the only pickups you need are double rares and one triple rare. So, and that's a common. So these are double rares, so they cost nothing. And Danger Lunge. Everyone bought PBD 6, so it would have dropped in price. Like there's too much PBD 6 out there. So very, very nice upgrade if you already have the Phantom Blaster deck as well. Hi guys, welcome back. This is Say So from Loopville TCG. And this is a requested profile for Blademaster in Standard. So, Blademaster, currently, like, people used to say it was a worse version of Kagero, but now it's kind of transitioned more into, like, the best version of Kagero, overtaking the Overlords, the Great, and the End. So what I think about this deck, I do believe it's the superior version of Kagero right now, and also it's quite of a budget deck to play for competitive players that want to get into it, but get into the competitive game and not spend too much money. So, well, like the run for Grade Zeros is a crit for draw for a heal. I don't like 6/6 too much, and I don't like 7/5 too much, as in 6 crit 6 draws, 7 crit 5 draw, as in I believe the deck does draw enough, and I'll get into that later, and I believe the crit is needed to finish out games as well. So for grade 1s, we're playing 12 grade 1s only, so we're playing 4 Flame of Hope ammo, so it's an 11k booster, and when your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, you can retire him, draw a card, and countercharge one. So this deck does counterblast quite a lot, so having that countercharge option is very good. And also, when your opponent's rear guard is retired, it also means you can also use ammo to hit it. You can also hit your units to their rear guards, which counts as retiring through battle, so your ammos will proc as well. So very good card. Next, 4 Sable Dragon Newt. So on Vanguard, when the attack hits, you draw a card. So it has some nice on-hit pressure when you're going second, which if you lose dice roll, unlucky. But hey, you draw this, your opponent either has to take the hit and let you draw the card, or they have to drop a hand card so you don't draw a card. So it adds some nice little pressure to it. And also on rear guard, when your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, you can retire it and draw a card. So kind of like ammo without the counter charge, but it makes up for it with the on hit on the Vanguard. So ideally, this is your ideal right target, or ammo as well. So these two combo well, allows you to dig through your cards. As I'm saying, you don't need to play any more draws in this deck, since every grade 1 in this deck will draw you a card. Next, I play Wyvern Strike Garant. So he is one of the pieces for Blademaster's condition as well. He's the grade 1. So on Regard, continuous. On my turn, on your turn, if your opponent has no Regard, it gets 5,000 power. So what that means, it either becomes a 13k beat stick or 13k booster, which allows you to hit magic numbers with grade 2s, 10, 13, 23. Check a trigger, 33. So very good. And its second skill is, when it attack, it boosted a Wyvern Strike Doha, which is down here. You can counter blast 1 and draw a card and soul charge 1. So what it means is this, all your grade 1s draw a card, and this also works if you ride Doha, since it doesn't specify it needs to boost a Doha on Vanguard or Rearguard. And the soul charge is very useful for Blademaster, which requires you to Soul Blaster grade 3. So sometimes when your opponent lets the hit go through, you can soul charge a grade 3, and immediately your grade 3s just turn online, since both of them, Blademaster and Waterfall, do require you to Soul Blaster grade 3, which traditionally means you do have to ride up. Normally, you have to ride grade 3 twice. So for grade 2s, we start off with Berserk Dragon. This is probably your first ideal right target, or Doha. So these two are your ideal right targets. So what it does is, when it's placed on Vanguard Rearguard, counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, choose an opponent's Rearguard and retire it. And if it's on Vanguard, you get the draw card. It's very nice. So So when you ride a grade 1, you get to draw a card, and then when you ride grade 2, you get to draw a card. So you kind of draw quite a bit through this deck as well. So very good card, and also it becomes a 13k beater when it attacks Vanguard if you have more regards than your opponent, which is very easy for Kagura. Kagura retires a lot. Next we'll play Dragon Knight, how do we pronounce this? Mukfar? He's a very nice card, especially against Excel and Bermuda if that's still around. So what it does is, it Counterblasts 2 and Soul Blasts 1. Choose 2 of your opponent's rearguards and retire them, and he gets 5,000 power. So it's kind of like extra Berserk, but he's also Act. So Berserk is Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 to kill 1. But for the extra Counterblast, you get to kill 2 things, which is very nice. So you can snipe back row, snipe front row, just anything that's annoying for you. As long as it doesn't have resist, or not resist, resist basically. Looking at Imperial Daughter, not Imperial, Promised Daughter, and that new Tachikase Raid 2 once he has free gauge. Next, we'll play Draconic Burnout. So, act once per turn, you counterblast 1 and put a grade 2 or greater from your drop zone to the bottom of the deck. And then you choose one of your opponent's rearguards to retire it. So, kind of like another retire option, which I like, especially in an XL heavy meta at the moment. Or also peace reliant decks such as Gancelot and Mordred with their Blaster Blades and Blaster Darks. So he adds another retire option as well. And also kind of like, he's probably the flex spot in the deck, so you can probably take him out and you can play maybe in the Harlems. What else? 10k Vanillas, Dragon Armor Knight if you want more beaters. So anything like that. So overall, nice flex spot to have. You can also play Spillover as well. So Burnout's probably the most flexible option you can play. Next we'll play 4 Doha, which is the grade 2 piece needed for Blademaster's condition. So when it's placed from hand on rearguard, you can counterblast 1 and search your deck for Wyvern Strike Garan, which is this one. So that adds the combo where you can heal call out him and then you have your on hit combo. So a very nice combo to have. And continuous on rearguard. When it attacks, if your opponent has no rearguards, your opponent cannot call normal units from his or her hand. So what does that mean? It's kind of like a soft guard restrict saying, I'm going to attack you and you can only guard with triggers. So it makes your opponent's hand very annoying to guard around with. So they might want to drop triggers for another attack, but then this one will look at them and be like, you need triggers as well. So it kind of rips more hand from your opponent. So very, very nice card. Very underestimated card as well. It's caught a lot of people off guard just by having that guard restrict. Next for grade 3s, 4 Blademaster. So what does Blademaster do? So continuous with Vanguard. If your opponent has no rearguards, this unit gets 5,000 power and critical +1. So this also works if your opponent has played nothing and you rode up to grade 3 and you ride up to Blademaster first. So it comes out as either 18 with critical or 28 with critical if you put a force 1 under it. Or you put a force 2, 18 with 3 critical, which sometimes comes in relevancy. His second skill is what makes Blademaster Blademaster. So you have a Wyvern Strike Doha, which is the grade 2, and a Wyvern Strike Garan, which is the grade 1. You can Soul Blast a grade 3, and discard 2 cards from your hand. And then you retire all your rearguards, or all your opponent's rearguards, not all your rearguards. And you call Vision Token. And that Vision Token is a 13k, it's on rearguard, and it allows you to twin drive, so he pays back the cost of you discarding 2. So what does this mean? So it allows you to nuke your opponent's board without it bypasses cannot be chosen effects, but it doesn't bypass Promised Order if people still play OTT. So his board wipe allows you to power up Garan to 13. It would always be 13k after you use Blademaster skill, and it makes the guard restrict from Doha as well. It's a very nice combo. So after you do that, you have a Vanguard that threatens crit, that has crit on it. You have a rearguard that twin drives, and you have another rearguard that has guard restrict with only normal units. Only triggers not only triggers and markers.